You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
He's got it! Oh, baby!
Every week, Travis Currah.
That's Grey Cup me, which is a different person.
And Brazilian Ty.
Hunters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Oh, nearly intercepted, and it's over!
Ready, set, hunt!
And we are part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. It's Travis Currah and Brazilian Ty. We're just after the CFL winter meetings in beautiful Kananaskis. Ty, have you ever been skiing?
No.
Not even one like school trip in the 9th grade or something?
No, I refuse to hand in permission slips. I'm like,
Okay.
I'm not going skiing. It's stupid.
So I went in the 9th grade, wrecked my knee pretty bad.
Remember when Craigness broke both of his wrists?
Yeah, that was the same trip.
I wipe my own ass. No, you don't.
One of our classmates fell down, broke both his wrists. There was a record amount of concussions that day. I remember I walked into the lodge to get treatment for my knee. And they go, "Do you still know your name?" And I go, "Yep." Well, you're going to have to wait. So when it came time for the high school ski trip, I'm out. No.
Yeah. We went and played NHL on career day. I don't think we were going on a ski trip.
So anybody that can handle that stuff or is talented at it, you have my utmost respect. I want to give a shout out to the other podcasts in the Alberta Podcast Network, including Unprofessional Development. I love that. It's about the stories teachers tell in the workroom, the bar room, and the coffee house. It's hosted by Shane Lawrence. You can check out that show and more shows at albertapodcastnetwork.com.
I have so many of those because all of my friends are teachers that I golf with.
Man, so do they gossip about the students?
Oh, man. If you're an idiot, yeah. I can only imagine what our teachers talk about.
I know. What did they say about us?
Yeah.
Only good things. Only good
Oh, I'm
things.
sure. I'm sure.
I gotta say, I'm distracted by that mustache. It is a thing of beauty now, man.
It's getting unruly.
How long has that been?
2 months.
That's pretty good. You're gonna get some wax, I think.
No, I'm gonna just let it come down the side.
It's not even like that's like a Fu Manchu, like the. And if you shave it, just leave the ends.
Oh, like Genghis Khan style.
There has been some CFL news.
It's better than the alternative.
Yeah, it
Like,
is.
just shave this.
There has been some CFL news over the past few weeks, including Luchez Purifoy being released by the BC Lions. It looked like he was set to get a bonus. Well, that's how the business of football goes. He wasn't available for long as the Edmonton Elks have signed him, so he's back in that Chris Jones defense. And Luchez Purifoy has become a pretty respected defensive player in the CFL ever since the Ottawa Redblacks just cast him off a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, like the stops that he's made in BC and Saskatchewan, like he's been a guy that they can basically play at any of the 5 positions in secondary. He's spent time at safety, spent time at defensive half, corner.
Can return kicks.
He's done so much, and you know, he's one of those guys that you don't hear any complaints, you know, from teammates and coaches and stuff. He's seems to be a good locker room guy, good team guy, and he produces on the field. Yeah, the bonus thing we talk about that every year. Guys are getting released because of roster bonuses are due and stuff like that. But you know, it is a business. We know this. It's not a surprise. But when you have a guy like that, like it's hard to let him go. So I don't know if maybe money they got other plans, obviously, for that money, but that's not a great loss.
Well, let's quickly talk about the Lions, where Nathan Work has apparently completed his tour, worked out with 12 NFL teams. He's got offers. He's got guaranteed money on the table. And it's a good chance that by the time you hear this, you know where he's signed. At the time of recording, we don't know where he is signed, if he's going to take the shot. Now, I think one of the big things that he'll be considering is is he going to have a chance to compete for a legitimate number 2 spot? If he's going to be 4 or 5 on the depth chart, is it worth his time? But I mean, what we've heard, I mean, significant guaranteed money on the table, that is hard to turn down. But the Lions seem to be kind of freeing up money right now. Purifoy's off the books. Brian Burnham has retired. Now, a full season with VA at the helm. And otherwise, when it comes to free agency and re-signings, the Lions have been really quiet. And we're going to know soon where Rourke is going to go. I feel like if he does stay in Canada, they're probably going to find a way to get around that rookie deal and give him legitimate money this year. Probably the highest paid player in the CFL. And Zach makes 600. So,
we're getting back to this. We've seen this movie before and it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's it. Rourke will be like Michael Riley. He won't like his supporting
He won't like picking.
cast.
He won't like getting scraped off the turf.
Yeah. That's just part of the economics and the salary cap when it comes to the CFL. It would be 15% of the salary cap if they give him $7 or $750 or whatever it is to keep him in Canada. So, I mean, that would be more pressure on him. It would be all sorts of things. So, yeah, he's got some big decisions to make. We do know that he's going to get paid either way. He's going to make a solid salary going forward, and he's got youth on his side. Now, are the Lions going to be comfortable or well set going into the season with Vernon Adams as their guy for 18 games? And look, I've been seeing Geno Lewis tweeting, and he looks like he's really trying to sell himself ahead of free agency.
The fact that he has to do that is ridiculous. Like, look at this guy's resume. It's like teams know.
Yeah, it's just the fact of how much receivers got paid last year. I don't know if that's going to happen again.
It can't.
Yeah.
And it's not all receivers. It was 2 of them that ruined the market.
Yeah, and I don't know if Geno's... I mean, if Lawler's worth $300K,
Geno's worth $300.
I think Geno is. And over 4 years, he says he's played with 22 total quarterbacks, over 4,000 receiving yards, 28 receiving touchdowns. Hey, he had
coached by Mike Sherman.
He had 2 pass TDs too.
Yeah. So he's played with 23 quarterbacks.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's a great player. And I mean, he has experience playing with VA. Could the Lions be looking his way if Rourke doesn't come back?
I mean, the fit is there. I think the fit is there even if Rourke does come back. Like, I don't know how
get both of them. That would be.
I don't see Rourke coming back with the opportunities he's going to have.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get that. What's the word? I'm like, familiarity with your quarterback with Geno Lewis coming to play with VA a little bit. It kind of helps with training camp. You know, it gets you a foot in the door and a foot ahead of some other guys who have never played with him. Stuff like that. I think that has to be seriously looked at, and there is holes to fill on that offense with the guys who've lost.
Hey, I saw a Dave Naylor tweet. The Vegas Raiders were the first team to work out Nathan Rourke, and they're exploring trade options for Derek Carr. Could he have a
Carr's gone? That was done in week 16.
We'll see what happens there. He maybe get a legitimate shot to compete for a number 2 spot
with Tom Brady.
But we've seen this so many times where guys go to the NFL before the draft and they invest in somebody in the draft or somebody else in free agency. Then all of a sudden they start falling down. So we'll see where he goes. I wish them all the best either way. More on the Lions. They bring in running back Tavian Feaster, who got into a couple games for the Alouettes last year, and I think that'll be some pretty good competition for James Butler. At times, Butler was a monster in 2022, but at other times, the running game was uneven, inconsistent a little bit. And I think as well as special teams, those are going to be a couple areas that the Lions are going to want to improve on in 2023.
And you know, it seems like a broken record with the inconsistency of the run game, because it goes for every team, it seems, that doesn't have an Andrew Harris kind of thing. But even the Argos weren't super consistent. But just and his injury didn't help either. But you know, when you're giving the guy a ball 7 times and say you can't get the run going, well, you didn't give him any chance. And I know there's only 2 downs to get 10 yards, and it's tough to commit to the run. And when you have a guy that, you know, can break out runs early in a game, you know, that gives him that leg up, that chance to keep giving the football, but coaches just go away from it so fast.
Back to the Elks, where they've extended Jake Serezna for 2 years. He was in the conversation among a lot of people about a legitimate being an all-star this year. Mm-hmm. And if he played more games, he probably would have been a lot more than an all-star.
He's big, strong, fast. That's exactly what Chris Jones wants.
So if they get a full season of Serezna, that's a big addition to that Elks defense. And they also extend Manny Arsenault, which I just love to see. I mean, the guy ended up, there was the COVID season, there was the torn ACL, but he's still here. And last season, he was second on the Elks in second down conversions. He was 4th in receiving yards for the team. So he became a target before his injury that was reliable for those young quarterbacks in Edmonton. He's still doing it. The Manny Show. You love to see the bushwhacker walk still happening in the CFL.
That's the best celebration in the league. It's not even close.
Now, as we transition into, I guess, the pandemic's not over, where, I mean, just go look at the cold and flu aisle at the drugstore. But if we can transition past that, and for his last season, he could start licking people like Luke and Butch, or at least the officials, like they... If he walked up and just licked Andre Proulx right from chin to forehead, I would love that.
The only problem is he'd have to take off his helmet and you'd get flagged for it.
That's true. That would be one of the greatest celebrations in CFL history. The funeral for Christian Salisbury was this past weekend, and he ends up winning an Elks Fan Favorite Award, which is really, really cool to see. And Chris Jones, man, he attends the funeral. He also attended the funeral of Joe McKnight in 2016. Mm-hmm. When does this stop? It's just a problem of society, man, and especially in the United States. I think 25 years old, but very cool to see the Elks fans pay tribute to him with that Fan Favorite Award. There was news right after we released the last episode of the show, Brandon Banks parting ways with the Toronto Argonauts. At times, it didn't look like that relationship was going to last all of 2022. Arguments on the sidelines. It seemed like maybe the chemistry wasn't there with McLeod Bethel Thompson at times, but a part of a Grey Cup champion winning team. He wins it in double blue, not in black and gold, but his Brandon Banks, maybe his CFL career, maybe this is it. We'll see what happens with him going forward.
I feel like he got his ring, and I just don't think he's got anything left to prove.
Yeah.
And you know, he's accomplished everything he can in the league, really. I don't see him wanting to come back and, you know, sign with a team that is going to go 6-12.
35 years old, 6,200 receiving yards, 48 career touchdowns.
And he got a late start because he was never a part of the offense.
Exactly. He's had over 3,700 kickoff returns, yards, sorry. He's had over 3,200 punt return yards, 8 touchdowns between the two, 5
One
missed,
called back.
a big one, 5 missed field goal returns for a touchdown. So an electric player in dude.
Well, he went on that streak in 2019 where he had like 7 straight games or something.
I would not be able to run 110 yards. So like, where are you running out of gas? You're starting, if it's a missed field goal.
Are we talking like a full out sprint or like kind of like jog a little bit?
Well, on a return.
Or are we talking about like a return?
You're probably running full out sprint. You're probably zigzag. It's not always in a straight line.
Taking a knee. I'm giving myself up. Because A, I don't want to get hit.
You're giving up the single.
B, I run so much faster barefoot that I just feel like I'd be bogged down in cleats, and I'd get to like the 10. I'd get it out of the end zone so I don't give up the point and just get out of bounds or just give myself up.
I'd love to see it just like Johnny Knoxville and Jackass. No blockers, just
Jared Allen. No, thank you.
Crushed them.
Yeah.
Big news for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. One of the big consistencies there has been those offensive tackles on the offensive line, and Stanley Bryant and Jamarcus Hardrick both re-sign in Winnipeg. Stanley Bryant, that guy has the most outstanding offensive lineman awards in CFL history. He's kind of going 1 year at a time. What does he have to prove? At this point, it's just greatness. That's what it is.
And they're definitely going to be making, they might make market value and they can save money somewhere else, but they're not taking those huge contracts dollar wise. They're keeping the band together. We're in the middle of January. Winnipeg is probably the favorite.
I know. Yeah.
Coaching staff continuity, roster continuity, front office. As much as we hate the GM in Winnipeg because he was a dink at Labor Day.
Oh, the president.
Or the president, sorry. Like
Wade Miller.
Yeah, like what a loser. Too bad your brother doesn't have a temper.
Ooh, that if we didn't show up when we did,
it would have been, it would have got real bad real quick.
Somehow you show up in a Chris Walby jersey and all of the heat resonates on you.
I'm the world's greatest heel. When will you learn this?
For the Ottawa Red Blacks, Brendan Gallanders has retired after 8 years wearing the red and black. He is a Grey Cup champion, played football with the Ottawa GGs as well. So Congratulations to him on a great career in Ottawa. And I also think Red Blacks fans are going to like to see this. Devontae Dedmon back for 2 years with Ottawa. I do want to see if they're going to, and they tried it last year, and I know it was with Lapo, if they're going to start to get him more and more involved in the offense. That's obviously, I mean, you want the electric returns, but you want the ball in his hands as much as possible.
You can't teach speed, and you know, and he can read, not necessarily defense, but like, you know, he finds holes. He can kind of read what's happening in front of him. And if you can get the ball in his hands and give him more opportunities, there's nothing wrong with that.
The Stamps have extended offensive lineman Zach Williams, and they've released Julian Good-Jones to pursue an NFL opportunity. And there have been some other players that are going to be pursuing the NFL this offseason, giving it a shot. Tyrell Ford, the Canadian,
great name,
with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, has signed with the Green Bay Packers. Just goes to show, and I think it was Naylor that said this too. The youth, the measurements that you have. He didn't start with the Bombers, but he's got a shot in the NFL. Sometimes that's as simple as it is. So good luck to him. Hamilton defensive back Rodney Randall Jr. is with the Patriots, and Jamal Peters, a star defensive back for the Argos this past season. CFL leader, at least tied for the lead in interceptions, has signed with the Atlanta Falcons, who also have DeAndre Alford, who was with the Bombers in 2021. I feel like DBs It's hard to play in Canada. If you could run with the receivers in Canada, it's a more physical game in the States. But if you could play DB here, you have a good shot to do well in the NFL.
I wouldn't say that's 100% across the board, but it's usually a pretty good measuring stick.
Yeah. Now, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, they're waiting on, well, their fans are. I think they're trying to sign Bo Levi Mitchell. Here we are, less than a month from CFL free agency opening. The trade happened right around Grey Cup week, and he's still not signed.
That's a huge red flag for me.
I think so. He's probably going to wait at least to the legal tampering period, right?
Yeah, probably. And I mean, what is McLeod Bethel Thompson doing? But I mean, Toronto has so many losses off their Grey Cup team. Like, it's not just a plug and play for him anymore. Like, there is decisions to be made now, and money is obviously going to be a big part of it. And I think he's obviously got to be negotiating, I think, with Hamilton, or they got to be having some kind of discussions.
Yeah.
And then he kind of used that to be like, well, I can get this here. What's your offer? Like, he kind of knows what he's worth, knows what he can do. We know he's not going to Regina. Like, I think Saskatchewan would have to fork over way too much money. It wouldn't be worth it because your team would still be so bad. Like, Hamilton and Toronto just seem like the only two places he can go.
Trying to think about quarterback situations in the league right now.
Montreal, maybe.
Trevor Harris hasn't signed there yet. Ottawa, Sean Burke saying that Masoli is looking to be good to go for training camp, and Nick Arbuckle. They've got a pretty
and Bo isn't going to go there to be a 1-2 punch with Masoli. He's not doing that.
Yeah, but here's in Hamilton, man, they have a lot of free agents still to be locked up before it opens in less than a month here.
And they don't want to start locking those guys up and then not have enough money left for whatever Bo wants. So they're hampering themselves. Either cut your losses and sign the guys and figure out your quarterback situation after, or just like, Dane can't be a number one. I think we've established this. But do you wait, sign Bo at the last minute, don't have any time to negotiate with anybody else, and now you're in a roster overhaul after, back-to-back Grey Cup appearances a year ago? Like, I just, there's no good way. Like, I think if I'm in Hamilton, I'm cutting my losses.
Bo's going to want those guys locked up before he signs.
It's just like Connor Bedard. Like, you're screwing yourself.
Now, Tim White, the most outstanding player for the Ticats in 2022, he hasn't signed. Stephen Dunbar Jr. hasn't signed. The linebackers, Javon Santos-Knox, Cameron Kelly, Seontae Evans, Jamal Roll, all those guys haven't signed for Hamilton yet.
They got so many holes to fill, and they have to drag their feet because they can't sign those guys and not have enough money left on the table. Man. And they could sign Bo and still have enough money left on the table to bring the guys they really want to bring back.
An interesting note from the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Mason Nias of the Regina Rams, who just played the Saskatchewan Huskies, just played in the Vanier Cup, ended up losing to Laval. He turned down a contract offer from the Riders, so the Riders have removed him. Do you blame him? So they have removed him from their nag list. It looked like that was about a pretty good story for the Riders if they could get him into camp. But, a lot of these guys, they could probably make a lot of money coming out of school. There's a lot of smart guys playing football that, especially when they're young, they know, hey, I got a good head between my shoulders. Let's keep that intact as long as I can.
Not only are they a businessman, they're a businessman.
Yeah.
They get it.
Now, a Saskatchewan product, Brett Jones, is talking about possibly playing football in Canada again. Here he is. He turns 32 in July. He's from Weyburn, so it fits in.
living on the buffet.
Yeah, KFC and Pizza Hut buffet. That's why all those big boys come from Weyburn.
What's our excuse?
He was drafted in the second round back in 2013 by the Stamps. He actually won the CFL's Most Outstanding Offensive Lineman Award in 2014, which you don't see very much from the center position.
No.
And then he went on. He spent a few seasons with the Giants and then the Vikings. Recently, the Broncos. He was on the IR.
I wouldn't even want the Broncos on my resume at this point.
By the way, hey, Alex Singleton, 150 tackles with the Broncos this year. That's pretty
Helps
cool.
when you have Russell Wilson as your quarterback. You get lots of playing time on the defensive side.
It totally helps. Now, Brett Jones says if he doesn't get into med school at the U of S, then maybe he'll play football here. That would be a big addition to the Riders' offensive line, or any offensive line in the Canadian Football League, if Brett Jones ends up coming back to the CFL.
And like you said, like for him to win a Most Outstanding Offensive Lineman from the center position, is ridiculous. It shows you how good he is.
Yeah,
for him to be that much of a standout. And the Riders' biggest hole is offensive line. That's 1A. I guess 1B would be quarterback. But I mean, any team in the league would want to take him. But the fact that, he's from Saskatchewan, wants to go to U of S, I think the Riders would be the obvious choice.
And back then, it was only his second season in the league.
Which is that's crazy.
And won the Rookie of the Year as an offensive lineman. He had a pretty good couple seasons in the CFL before going to the NFL. The Calgary Stampeders have solidified their coaching staff for 2023. That includes Nick Lewis coming into the coaching staff. It includes Jawan Simpson joining on with the coaching staff there. So some pretty recognizable names to red and white fans joining the coaching staff. Well,
not even that, just the CFL fans. And now that these guys are becoming coaches, the guys that we grew up watching, it's like, oh my God, what is happening? Like the day Connor McDavid retires, be like, I've wasted my 30s.
Now, Ty's boy, Richie Sandani, has been hanging out with Andrew Harris a little too much. He's been suspended for 2 games, testing for a banned substance. Who knows what the banned substance is? Could be MSG in Chinese food. I don't know.
No, there isn't any MSG in Chinese food.
That's what all the signs say.
Yeah, liars.
Is that how I get full at the buffet in 3 minutes and then I'm hungry as soon as I leave?
It's addictive. It's highly addictive.
There I go. I got to spend another $30 on another couple plates. Now, the Montreal Alouettes, they got some things to figure out. They need to sign a quarterback, which I think Jason Moss and Danny Machocha, I think they're fine if they can re-sign Trevor Harris. But then you've got Geno Lewis. And then you've got the whole fact that they do not have a president right now. They've got a cloudy ownership situation right now. Man, are those things that players are really going to look at before free agency and be like, I don't know if I want to get involved in that? Or they probably just look at the paycheck and the dollar bills on the
their
offer,
checks aren't going to bounce. I think.
Yeah,
I think we know that. President, I don't know how much that would really affect a player wanting to or not wanting to sign somewhere. You're dealing with Machocha and Jason Moss and the rest of the coaching staff for the most part. Maybe the everyday operations, you'd like to see some stability there, but I mean, every team goes through this, so it's just one of those things. But quarterback needs to be figured out. Just what are they doing with Geno Lewis? Are they going to be able to bring him back? I think those questions need to be answered for any prospective free agents. I don't think president's going to be on the top of anybody's list of worries from a player perspective looking for somewhere to sign.
Now, I mean, the current ownership group got the Alouettes through the pandemic, or I mean, the thick of it when everything was shut down. So that's good. But does the estate of Sid Spiegel want to keep running the team? That remains to be seen. they kind of say business as usual, but is it? I don't know.
Well,
what's
that whole estate thing is a mess right now, and it's one of those things that it hasn't affected, I don't think, like the team and the product on the field as much as it has maybe off the field, front office stuff. But I mean, that can trickle down. Like, it's a terrible comparison, but like in Major League, like the owner not fixing stuff and stuff like that. Like if stuff at the top is being squabbled over and stuff needs to happen with dressing rooms and equipment and trainers and stuff needs to be fixed. Like, I would hope that stuff is they're still signing off on that stuff, but who knows?
Are we writing a CFL movie? You're talking
already been
Major
done.
League? Well, but I mean a comedy one?
Don't steal home without it.
Slapshot. I mean, who owned the Chiefs? Owns. So
I'm coaching down in Omaha. Eddie Shore sends me. I can't. I'm not gonna do it. Hey, Hanrahan. No, can't do that one either.
Oh man, there's some CFL news to watch too. It looks like the league probably negotiating a new US TV deal. And I think that's part of the reason why we got the schedule we got this year, with very consistent times on, especially Saturdays throughout the year. Fridays
we bitch about it, nothing happens. A TV deal is expiring. That's what it takes. Shows you how much they really care.
Now, who knows if this Atlantic Schooners thing is actually going to happen. But Randy Ambrosie was meeting with 3 Down Nation and talking to everybody because the winter meetings in Kananaskis. Now, he says, and he told 3 Down Nation this, he believes an expansion team, and I quote, could utilize what he dubbed a temporary permanent solution to house a team. Now, basically,
an Empire Stadium situation.
He kind of says, look, we're not going to build an IG Field or a Mosaic Stadium right off the bat here.
Yeah.
But he goes kind of, what if we get a team in there and this temporary permanent place, and we play there for a few years and we build a base of fans and then we build a permanent facility? What if it doesn't do well? I mean,
and we got the Ottawa Renegades.
So they're in the league for 6 years and then it's gone.
And we have a dispersal draft and the Riders win a Grey Cup.
Yeah, he says the league had conversations with Canadians in the Maritimes. They would see an expansion team add seats and amenities to an existing facility for 5 to 10 years while the club gets established. If the franchise could prove its viability, it would then advocate for a permanent stadium to be constructed. If, I don't like that word. If. I don't know.
But do you want to, you can't build a 25,000 seat state-of-the-art stadium right off the bat, because then you're in you're broke. And then if this thing, just sizzles out, and you've got this empty stadium that, it's.
But at the same time, we just fold the team after 5 years if it's
right?
not going well.
This isn't the NHL.
Yeah.
You're not propping up a team for 20 years because you need it to work. You can't do that right now.
Yeah.
In the CFL, it's got to make it or it's done. And right now, I think, I like the idea of maybe like a 10 to 12,000 seat, get that base, get that demand up, play that game, right? But the thing is, the team's got to be good. It's not going to be good in the first year or two. It's going to take so long it's going to take a while to build. And if it just flattens out to where they're not even selling out 12,000 seats, now what do you do?
Yeah.
Now you're looking to build on a campus and share like McGill does, which was never the plan for the 10th team. You want to do it right, but it's so tough right now because of the situation everybody's in still.
At the same time, it would add probably money to the TV deal, which would help every team around the league. So
there's got to be an expansion fee the owners would get a piece of too.
It's a big deal to get this in, and it would have some ripple effects. Now, here's a name from the past. I just want to mention it. Michael Bishop going to the College Football Hall of Fame.
Along with?
Oh, it is a mile long, the list.
Mm-hmm.
The list is a mile long, so I'm not going to read all of them. Tim Tebow's going in there.
Exactly. That's all I wanted.
Your Florida Gators.
Yeah, that's all I needed from you.
You still got the Tebow jersey?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Bust it out on game days. It comes to camp with me.
Nice. Played with Kansas State. He could probably throw 110 yards, but you didn't know where it was going to go half the time.
It's like Candy Maldonado.
That was even his college career, though. 50.8 completion percentage.
It's a better percentage than me at the bar.
This episode of Two and Out brought to you by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider in Alberta, offering internet, electricity, and natural gas with low rates, awesome service, and profit sharing with local charities. In Alberta, you get to choose who to buy your internet, electricity, and natural gas from. So if you switch providers, nothing changes about the deliveries of these utilities to your home or business.
That needs to be explained to me. Like, they're all the same pipes.
Well, when I switched to Park Power, the power didn't get switched off. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked out well. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. These delivery charges, they're pretty transparent with Park Power. So if you have an existing contract, find out the terms before getting out of it. If you don't, then it's really easy. Go to parkpower.ca. You can do a cost comparison in like 2 minutes. You as a consumer have the choice of who to pay your bills to. So why not choose that friendly local utilities provider at Park Power? Learn more, of course, at parkpower.ca. All right, Ty, when we're back in a couple of weeks, you still going to have that duster?
Possibly.
Is it annoy you or no?
Very much so.
Yeah, sometimes
it's in my mouth all the time. Like, I take it, like I'll have a pop or whatever, and I just go do this all the time. It's the worst.
Sometimes I get tired of being a hairy Sasquatch, but shaving is way more annoying. So I just leave it be.
Yeah.
You should see what's under the sweater.
I have. It's another sweater. Not supposed to wear t-shirts in the pool.
You can rate, review, and subscribe to Two and Out on your favorite podcatcher, and like and ring the bell with a comment on YouTube as well. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Stay warm, stay healthy, stay safe too.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.